welcome to all of you for joining us today for another episode of the Nonprofit Show. Really grateful to have the continued support of our presenting sponsors. You see their logos on the screen, and we are just so grateful to have them in our corner and in your corner too, because I guarantee you, in fact, I promise you, they are on the sidelines cheering for each and every one of you. So thanks to our sponsors. Please do go find them and give them some LOVE. They will be really happy to receive. Again, Julia Patrick, welcome to you, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. And I am Jarrett Ransom, serving alongside as a co-host, the Nonprofit Nerd, also CEO of my own consulting firm, the Raven Group. And today's guest, thrilled to have you join us, and really looking forward to get to know more about the Bronx House. So welcome to you, Anne. And
thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for having me today. I love this show. So it's so exciting to be representing New York City and be spending, I know it's the morning for all of you on the West Coast, but what a great way to be spending my lunch. So thanks for having me.
Perfect.
So let's back up and start with the Bronx House. This is your mission statement, or your tagline, a better life for everyone. Love it.
And you know, we take that very seriously. Bronx House is a Jewish community center that's been serving the Morris Park area of the Bronx for over 100 years. And what's interesting is that Morris Park in the Bronx is historically a Jewish area, and there's still very much a Jewish presence. But over the past century, the demographics of the neighborhood have really, really shifted. Mm-hmm. And right now, we're one of the most diverse places in New York City. In addition to the Jewish population, there's a large Italian population, a large Eastern European population, specifically from Albania, a large African American community, a Latino community, a Vietnamese community, a Pakistani and Bengali community, to the point that translation becomes really, really difficult for us. It would be very easy if we could have a copy of the brochure in English and a copy of the brochure in Spanish, but it becomes so overwhelming when there's just communities and families that we're engaging from all over the world. So it's very exciting just to look at our roster and see all the names, all the places of origin, and the way we have this better life for everyone by establishing ourselves as a hub of the community. It's very, very cool. In terms of the services that we do here, you name it. There's a gym, there's a pool, and within the pool there's instructional swim. There's a swimming class for children on the spectrum. There are swimming classes for seniors. There are group fitness classes. There are daily hot meals for seniors, and we'll talk about the pandemic in a minute. But during the pandemic, we've been delivering hot meals to the homes of senior citizens in the local community. There is youth sports. There is youth tutoring. Right now, we're serving as a learning lab site. So for children who are doing remote learning, whose parents are first responders and essential workers, they can come here and be supervised and do their work and have some socially distanced socialization. There is vacation camp for kids, which my own two children love coming to. When their school's on break, they can come here. What am I missing? Oh my gosh, I'm missing my own department, performing arts. So we are very proud to be the borough's oldest community operating music school. We offer music, theater, and dance for babies through senior citizens. Private lessons, something called semi-private lessons, where students can take a private lesson with a sibling, with a friend. In one adorable instance, a couple decided they wanted to learn to play the violin together this fall, and they come here every Saturday and take violin lessons together. That's their date.
I love it. So I want to let everyone know, sometimes this happens. We're having a little bit of a delay on our technical side. So stick with us, because there is a little bit of what we like to call a little bit of a freeze. And so sometimes we'll have a call that comes in and out. But let's talk about these impacts of art education. This is something that falls behind so much in a time of crisis and just in
Yes.
general funding. So talk about
Yes.
that. 100 years. I mean, was this something that was addressed, the arts education piece early on, or has this been something that's a little bit newer?
I'm really proud to say, this has been addressed for the past 100 years, giving students and families and people of all ages this opportunity in this very, very urban center to learn music and to dance and to participate in theater. When I think about arts education, and particularly performing arts education, doing something live in real time, um, it's almost hard for me to articulate why it's so important, because to me it just is. It's so obvious. But when someone plays music, and particularly when someone plays music with someone else or with multiple other people in an ensemble setting, so much is happening in your head. You're listening to yourself. You're making it, you're adjusting in real time, and then you're moving on. Everyone makes mistakes. Let's move on. You're listening to those around you. You're seeing if what happens in your own, literally in your own breath and your own body, is aligned with what's happening to the person sitting here, what's happening to the person playing timpani over there, if that's in tune to what's happening with the conductor up in front of you. And all this while, you're making something beautiful. You're really making something out of nothing. And your breath is making the world a better place. This piece of wood is contributing something to the world. And to me, that's just something incredibly moving, especially in a time of a pandemic when people are stressed. A lot of people, especially in this area, are unemployed. They're at home, and we all just feel this need to create, right? We just, how much Netflix can one person watch? You get to a point where you just want to feel like you've accomplished something. And I feel like with the arts, it's almost like downhill skiing, where you can just measure your progress so well. The first time you go down the mountain, you're going to fall. We accept that. It's going to happen. And the more you do it, the better you get. And I've always just admired this beautiful simplicity of you practice, you get better. And with our private lessons, we sell them in packs of 10. We have an adult student who decided she wanted to learn to play the cello this fall. It had been a dream of hers since she was a girl, and now she's doing it. So she started, and her first lesson was how to hold the cello. That's how much of a beginner she was. And 2 months later, she has something to show for that. And in another 2 months, just thinking about where she's going to be. And in a year from now, thinking about where she's going to be. It's measurable progress, but unlike data charts and spreadsheets and all these things that we use in the nonprofit to measure impact and to look at numbers, it's just like you're measuring beauty, as cheesy as that sounds, in a way that makes you feel really good. So to me, that's the impact of arts education.
I love, Anne, how you brought in, first of all, the Bronx House, right? And how the mission is to make a better world life for everyone. And really, and the analogy of downhill skiing, right? I'm like, I don't know if I get better every time I go skiing, but I sure do try. I do my best. And so that analogy that you shared with downhill skiing and playing, a brand new, instrument for the first time. But I'm also thinking, as today's inauguration day, right, for the U.S., is how healing music has been to so many of us throughout the pandemic, right? And so absolutely. I remember, to take this political and not saying sides, but so many musicians that are out of work and have been out of work showed up during elections. They showed up outside of voting institutions to provide music, to help to provide peace, to help to provide some simulation of normalcy. And that to me is the power of arts.
Yes, absolutely. Well said.
That's just so beautiful to me. And so I'm really interested to hear how you particular, in this borough, in the Bronx House there, has been affected specifically through the pandemic, and really just, what have been your challenges?
Whew, how long have you got? I could sit here and talk about the challenges, and I will, but I want to first preface this by saying these challenges are not unique to Bronx House. We've all been terribly, terribly affected by this. So I'm sure I know that I'm speaking with friends, and I'm speaking with colleagues and like-minded people. So please know that we are right here with you. But last March, I back up. I should add that I started here on August 31st, so I'm relatively new to the organization. But last March, when the pandemic hit and New York City shut down, that was a challenge for the organization. Here we are, this organization that was so used to being brimming with people all the time. Now it was this challenge of how do we make this possible, and how do we make this meaningful, and how do we ensure this better life for everyone when everyone's at home? We started doing the hot meal delivery. The senior, I forgot to mention earlier, in addition to the hot meals, we have daily senior programming in person. But last spring when we went online, senior programming went online too, along with computer classes for how to get the seniors online, and how to use Zoom, how to log in, things that everyone might not know. The music classes went on Zoom too. So all of a sudden you had kids taking violin lessons on Zoom, learning piano on Zoom. And as we're learning here with the lag, it's always going to be a challenge. There's really nothing like a live, I call it body to body, having one person in a room with another. There's really nothing like it, but you do the best you can. Because also you want to maintain your community, you want to maintain engagement, and you want to make sure that people come back. And when we reopened this fall, it's been a challenge getting those people to come back for a variety of reasons. One is people are scared, they don't want to leave the house. Another is it's been a very, very difficult financial time for everyone. And Bronx House, we're around 50-50 fee for service and grant funding. But even with the fee for service, we offer scholarships, but we still, there is a fee to participate, and a lot of people are making a lot of very, very difficult decisions right now. I'm one of them myself in my personal life, so I can't say I blame folks. So that's really been our biggest challenge. How do we continue to serve the community? How do we get them to stay engaged, whether they're engaged at home or coming back to us? And if they're coming back to us, how do we keep everyone safe? I'm in the office right now. I've got my door closed, but usually the door is open and my mask is on. Right. We've got the daily temperature checks. We've got the daily health screenings. If you go into our dance studios, you'll see that the floors are marked with X's on tape, and on the ballet bars, there are X's on the bars too, just to make sure that everyone stays apart and safe. And I'm very happy to report. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Well, I was curious to ask, one of the things that we like to ask during this time also, there have certainly been challenges, right? We've all been probably between an arm's length of any of us at home, as well as us here in our studios, there's a mask, right? There's something, maybe even a Kleenex or who knows, right? But what in some of those silver linings, and how has the Bronx House helped to provide those silver linings for the community there?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of my department in performing arts, the silver lining has been what can the impact of virtual learning be? And how can we continue to, if there's a family who's been a Bronx House family for years, or in some cases for generations, and then they leave New York, how can we still continue to engage them? Sure. So students who were coming into lessons in the Bronx and relocated upstate or moved in can still study with us, which is great. I had something else to say, and of course it has slipped my mind now. I apologize for that.
Let me ask you a question. that just popped into my mind. You
Okay.
mentioned that you do have like a fee for service and you have your scholarshiping
Yeah.
programs and all that. Have you changed your prices because you've moved to things that are on in an online format?
So the online, the short answer is no. The longer answer is Bronx House prices have not changed since last year. Sometimes there's a slight raise from year to year just to keep up with cost of living, and there's a freeze on all that. What we also did last spring was for people who just decided to put their enrollment on hold, that was fine. So if you paid for, let's say you paid for a session of 10 lessons, you got 3 before we went into lockdown, we weren't going to charge you for those other 7 that you didn't come to. So we gave the families the option, you can keep your money here at Bronx House, and when you're ready to come back, we'll just pick up from where we left off and keep that credit in your account, or you can have a refund for your for what you didn't use. And we pushed hard for that credit because we wanted to keep people with us, and a lot of people have made good on it, which is great to see.
Awesome. That's amazing. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit because believe it or not, we don't have much more time with you. But I'd love.
Oh my goodness! I've been talking for like 20 minutes. My goodness, I'm a rambler.
It goes by fast. It really
goes by fast. Even for Jarrett and I, we say that it goes by fast
every day.
We do say that every day. I really want to know and delve into the piece of attracting donors to arts education. Because in this day and age, and if you joined us before, I was just this weekend at a major vaccine rollout, volunteering. And I was amazed at the number of philanthropic sponsors that have like moved or diverted funds away from what they normally do into this mass event. And it just got me to thinking, we're seeing a lot of this, and donors and funders that are like, yeah, we loved you in the past and we'll love you in the future, but right now we got to put our resources towards, what is problematic. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that in terms of your arts education funding.
Yes and no. We have some really great partners and some really terrific funders who are committed to us, and this is one of the benefits of being around for 100 years. That we've got our people, and they know us, we know them, and it's challenging times for everyone. But the silver line, I was prepared for. I don't even know how to say this. I was prepared for the worst, and we didn't get the worst. We got not great, but it wasn't the worst. So I feel like I'm not in a place to complain about that, which is really, really great. But I think that the key to continuing to attracting donors and then continuing to attract them is to highlight the great and often intangible work that's happening in an organization. Something we did recently was we had a virtual recital that took place in lieu of what we usually do. We set up the auditorium, we set up the stage, we've got the concessions. For obvious reasons, we couldn't do any of that, but we took it online. What our virtual recital looked like was, it was me with my iPhone and our marketing guy with his iPhone. And we basically just spent the day in the studios with the kids and the young adults and the adults who are our students. And just like they otherwise would have gotten up on a stage and performed, we took the camera to them, we masked up, and we just filmed them in one take playing their piece, and then we spliced it together, which is a great opportunity for the students to have something real and tangible to work for. And it's also great for our donors to see that, yes, we are still making music, we are still making this happen, we're still getting kids instruments, and we're still teaching them with the absolute highest quality.
I think what you just demonstrated truly, because we have talked about this, a lot since March, is how do we do this? How do we bring what we do to the community? How do we show to our donors that this is still a very viable investment that we need, right? And I love, Anne, that you completely owned up to, you use this thing that we all have, right? An iPhone or smartphone. I'm going to call it a smartphone until we're endorsed by Apple, right?
This is fair. This is fair.
Until we have Apple on this step and repeat, I'm just going to say, right, a smartphone.
This is why you're the host and I'm just the guest.
Well, Android too, we can have a battle, but the point is, you don't have to go into a high level investment to bring this to your community, right? To show your donors the impact of $1. And I love so much, Anne, that you just called that out and you owned your ingenuity and ability to be innovative, right? Because I have heard so much, so frequently from too many people, to be honest, like, we can't do that, right? And everything is a challenge. Everything's an obstacle. I hate to say it. There's still some of you that are still on the bench and you hit the pause button and I cannot help you, right? No one can help you until you can pick up your own smartphone and make magic happen. You've got to come
to
right? And so I love that. And I'm curious to hear what your community of supporters shared with you after that virtual recital.
They loved it. And the cool thing about having a virtual recital is that it's, first of all, shameless plug, you should all go, it's on the Bronx House YouTube channel. You should all go check it out.
Perfect.
But, grandma across the country who hasn't been able to see grandson since the pandemic, now you can just send them a link and see your grandson performing on violin, on piano, on guitar. It makes sharing these things very, very, very easy, very, very simple, and gets the word out. Something else that's personally very important to me as an arts educator is this concept of showcasing students at all levels, all ages, and all levels of musical development, and not just your shining stars, and not just your top performers. This includes the 5-year-old who plunked out Mary Had a Little Lamb on his piano. It was his first recital. He didn't, but he did it, and he was proud of the work he did. And I just think, systemically,
that is brave.
Absolutely.
I remember showing up at recitals and, oh my gosh, they were so stressful. And of course I knew what I needed to perform, but the nerves would get the best of me, right? And it was so intimidating. So that level of bravery to demonstrate at all ages, right, of experience, absolutely, I think is really important. So kudos.
And kudos. Yeah. And in addition to that, I also just think that as a society, we've become very accustomed to editing. The joke is you watch a show like Glee and oh my gosh, they just happen to all know the same lyrics and they just happen to sound auto-tuned and they just happen to be singing in harmony. And you don't see any of the work that goes into that. We're with these Instagram filters, with these, I refuse to use splashy editing on any kind of student performance.
Yeah.
And this is what it sounds like. What something I want to get written on a t-shirt is the sounds of learning. But we just need to get used to what this sounds like and to showcase that, especially in a place like New York City where we're living in small apartments and walls are thin. We want students to feel good about practicing at home and not be concerned that this is bothering someone.
And that authenticity that it brings, right?
Yes.
It's, I am at this level. And this might be my first time doing downhill skiing, but in 6 months from now, by working with the Bronx House, right, I am going to be, I don't know, slaloming. I don't even know if that.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. The irony is I don't even ski. I just.
Clearly I don't either, because I don't even know the technology, but I can snow tube like no other. So you better watch out for tubing. And this has been wonderful. And I definitely do want to look more into the Bronx because as you described it in the beginning of the episode, it really does demonstrate what I heard you say is this is truly the community hub, right? It is the hub for the community in all these magnificent ways that it provides support, service, perhaps faith, right? Like everything is here. Nourishment for our food, by the way, nourishment for our body, by the way of food. And I just think that's lovely. And definitely during a time of uncertainty and navigating, right? The Bronx House has really been that place of support, and we all need it. We all need connectivity. We all need community. And I commend you and everyone there at Bronx House for all that you've continued to do. And oh my gosh, for you to start in August before these shenanigans, like, yeah, you're doing amazing. So thank you so much for joining us today. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you both so much for having me, and thank you for the great work that you're doing, across the country and bringing nonprofits together. It's really, really, really great stuff. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Hey, here's Anne's information. Check out the Bronx House. It's fascinating. Really, it's a phenomenally robust website that really talks about all the different things that are going on. I mean, to work with a community organization to have a community organization to be in service for 100 years is amazing. And so, Anne Cohn, we want to thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's been really inspirational. As Jarrett mentioned, on this sacred day of a peaceful transition of power, it is really important that we reach out to our community centers and our places that do impact our local communities for the multiple generations that we need going forward. Again, I'm Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. I've been joined by the nonprofit nerd herself, Jarrett Ransom. And of course, all three of us ladies are wearing our pearls today because it is inaugural day. And we're really, really excited that you could be with us. We've got a lot more going on this week. And so we want to make sure that you check us out. We also want to, again, thank our sponsors. Without you, we would not have this robust conversation. And so many of them have been with us from the beginning and will continue to be moving forward with us throughout the new year. So thank you to our presenting sponsors. Wow, Jarrett, another great show and another inspirational show.
Absolutely. I am just thrilled to hear what all of our sectors, right? We have 9 main sectors in our nonprofit community, and arts, performing arts in particular, I know has not necessarily been that point of focus when it comes to human service needs, those basic needs. So, Anne, it's always so great to hear from organizations that do deal with the arts and provide the arts. So yes, I agree. And inspirational. And again, take out your smartphone and make magic happen. No excuses.
That's right. No excuses. Hey, everybody, thank you for another great episode. As we like to end every show, we remind everyone watching and joining us, stay well so you can do well. And we'll see you back here tomorrow for another great episode of the Nonprofit Show. Thank you, Anne.